Hello there, fellow Scorpios. Thank you so much for stopping by for your monthly in-depth tarot forecast. This forecast is for the month of September, and I do have this month broken down into 4 pretty much equal time frames. So we're going to start off by looking at September the 1st through September the 8th to begin with. Just looking at some major themes, seeing what is going on in particular areas of our lives, all that kind of good stuff. Alright, I just realized I'm not sure if my phone's on silent or not. I do want it on silent so I won't be distracted while I'm doing this. Okay. I'm doing an awful lot of shuffling. That means that first week of September we've got a lot going on our minds. And I say we because I am a Scorpio sun sign myself. La da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da da da. Okay, I think we're done with shuffling. Let's put down some cards. Now these are general readings, of course, so they're going to come across as kind of open or a little bit vague, not exactly specific, because I want you all to be able to recognize the energies at work in each of your lives. If you want something that's more specific, then always the answer to that is to get a private reading. But we should get a lot of pretty good information out of this too. Okay, let's start off with our environment, fellow Scorpios. Environment is any place we have energy or effort invested. For most of us, it's going to be home, but it might be someplace else too, so we do want to keep our minds open for that. Now, what I'm looking at. We definitely have some kind of challenge in our environment where I think we're getting a big surprise on something that is not exactly the way that it's supposed to be. However, I think we're pretty dedicated to the environment, which means that we really like this environment. We are committed to staying with this environment, and in spite of the challenge, I don't think we're really letting this challenge it might slow us down, but I don't think it's letting us change the end goal that we have about our environment. And so I see us really just focusing on the target and moving in on the target in spite of this challenge that comes up. Alright, that's first week of September. Well, 1st through the 8th of September. I don't even think that's a week, is it? No, well, it starts on a Tuesday and ends on a Tuesday. So 8 days starting on a Tuesday. Alright, next we're going to look at our subconscious leanings during this particular time frame. Ba-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so it looks like we're doing a lot of behind-the-scenes type of work, and we are looking at things very much from a business perspective, a bottom line type of perspective, which is not always the most easy for those of us who are water signs to actually do, but I see us really being focused on making sure that we're making decisions that make sense for us. And it looks like there is a little bit of frustration as we are doing this. So we're doing behind the scenes work, and that is supporting the very logical thought processes that we have, but there is some frustration coming up here, and that's what our subconscious is working on. It's working on ironing out those wrinkles so that doing this type of behind the scenes work that gets us towards a logical goal is not so frustrating, so that things can start working smoother. So our subconscious is working on that. La da 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 da. What else? Let's look at learning style and then communication style. First of all, looking at learning style. We are very, very, very curious. And so there's a lot of information that we're getting that is building on information that we've had from before. We are also learning about something that is new and different. And so getting some very basic information in that area. And we're learning how to balance things out in our life. I think that can be really tough. Once again, for those of us who are water signs, we like to look at things emotionally. That's more where we normally lean towards. And so this is us really learning, okay, how do we balance things? How do we do things that make sense and also follow our hearts here? And then the last thing that I have coming up about learning has to do with intuitive learning. We're finding out some things intuitively. We're getting intuitive hits about things, and we should be paying close attention to these because these are carrying some very valid information for us during this time. Let's look at communication style for those of us who are Scorpios during this time frame. I think our communication style is very solid, very grounded. We're not changing what we're saying from person to person. We're not changing our minds about things. We're being very much an open book as far as what we're communicating about. I think we're also very balanced in our communication. You know, we're staying logical. We're not flying off into rose-colored glasses ecstasy about things. We're also not getting really negative about things. We're staying really in a nice balanced place as we're communicating to other people. And it looks like one of the things that we may be communicating about is going to be a decision about making some kind of change that's going to impact us for a while. Excuse me. Alrighty. Let's look next. Let's look next at work. Work. Okay, well, we have some really good things happening at work. We also have one thing that, not my favorite to see. But first of all, work is very secure. We could be working from home. I know that applies to me, but as far as general reading, I think a lot of the Scorpios that watch this could actually be working from home. Either way, work is feeling very secure. Where you work could be feeling like home. You may be putting in so many hours at work that all you need to do is set up a cot and you could live there. That could be what's going on too whenever I see this. But job security, work, very secure, very stable. There's a lot of good collaboration going on at work too. So there's a lot of give and take. There's a lot of sharing of responsibilities. This is a really nice card to have. But there is something coming up. There's a little bit of insecurity about work too. And so we've got things going so well at work. I'm not sure where this insecurity is coming in, unless it's coming in from some kind of outside factor. I don't know, is this coronavirus kicking up again and more people are out of work, or I don't know what this is that's making us feel insecure about work, unless it's something that's an outside factor, because as far as what's actually happening, it's all really positive, good stuff here. Really positive, good stuff. Okay, so for those of you, actually, just happened to hit me, for those of you who are working so much that work almost feels like home, although it's not, like I said, all you need is a cot and you could live there, you may be feeling really insecure because of the idea of, I don't know if I can keep up this pace at work. Okay? But I don't think that's true for most people. I think that's just kind of the minority that comes up with that. Let's look at inner work. Inner work. Inner work really has to do with the idea of staying in the moment and appreciating the moment. So this ties in a lot with work, actually. It looks like where our insecurity is coming in is that we're looking down the road when it comes to outer work. We're not really paying attention to what's going on in the right now, in the present. And the inner work is all about getting in the flow of staying in the present, focusing on the present, and Yeah, just maximizing the present. All of our power is in the time frame that we're in right now. And so that inner work is about really maximizing the power and the authority that we do have. La da 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 da. Next thing we're looking at is that part of your personality, or our part of our personalities, which is being grown or expanded during this particular time frame. Okay, Scorpios, Scorpios, Scorpios. There's somebody who is stalking us. I know you guys are hearing this in other readings too. At least I have been. There's somebody who is stalking us. They could be stalking us electronically, social media. They could be asking friends and family members about us. And I think that this person who is stalking us finally makes contact. Okay? I think this person finally makes contact. And as this person, I think that we're happy to hear from them. I think that we're happy to hear from them. I get the sense that the reason they're stalking us is because they're not very confident in contacting us about how we're going to react to them reaching out to us. And that's kind of why they're stalking us, to kind of get an idea about what kind of headspace are we in. Isn't that interesting? It looks to me like on these cards, we're going to be happy to hear from this person. However, I do think that I really am trying to feel into this a little bit more. I think that interacting with them is going to seem a little bit like a struggle for us. I think that there's a lot going on in this person's head regarding us. And I think there's probably also a lot going on in our heads regarding this other person. And both ways may or may not be based on fact. In fact, a lot of things that are going on in our heads and in the other person's head may not be. May be more based on our own insecurities. Okay? And so I think that when this person shows back up, I think that communication is a little bit of a struggle at first. We really are going to be finding some of these conversations to be really tempting to just say, this isn't working, and walk away. But I think what's happening here is that this person is important enough to us that we're not doing that. We're not just giving up and walking away. We're trying to move forward, trying to make the struggle less of a struggle as we move forward. So that's where we're being grown or expanded during that first 8 days of September. Looking now at those things that we stand for. Do, 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 do. So it looks to me like we have a situation that by this time will be in our past where we've been pretty happy. We've been waiting and expecting somebody to communicate with us, but waiting and expecting. Still, we were pretty happy. We were doing things to move on with our life. We were not, just sitting and waiting and that was all we were doing. That was going on, but we also have other things going on in our lives too, and we're pretty happy about that. And I think that we're actually having to defend that to some certain degree. Maybe to this person that we're finally hearing from. Maybe they want to know, well, how come you were so happy whenever we weren't talking? That seems like a really immature question, but I think we're going to hear it. I think we're going to hear it, Scorpios. All right. How is this other person perceiving us? Well, first of all, the first thing that shows up here is they're not feeling so much in control of us. Maybe they might have felt in control of us before when we were in communication previously. They're not feeling like they're in control. I think they are kind of trying to be our leader or control us in some kind of way, and they're finding that it's not as easy as it used to be. They are realizing that they do want to move forward with us and keep communicating with us and keep working with us, keep collaborating with us. They do want to move forward. They want to pick up where they left off, basically, and keep going forward. And I think they're realizing that we may not be exactly what they're looking for. I think this person may be looking for somebody who just can't be happy if they're not around. And so we may not be exactly needy enough for them. We may not be exactly what they're looking for. And especially when you add to it this idea that they can't exert control over us like they used to when we were in communication before, we may not seem as appealing to them as we did the last time that we were in communication. And this doesn't have to be a romantic situation. It can be, but it could also be a friendship, or it could also be a family relationship where somebody's used to sort of pulling the strings. Let's look at our flex point during this time frame. This is where things sort of change direction here. We have some interesting things showing up. So we have a situation where there's something that makes us incredibly sad or heartbroken. Incredibly sad or heartbroken. I've basically got two cards saying grief or heartbreak in this same pile here. And I think that we're pretending everything's okay. We're pretending that that's not how we feel. Well, you know, we're Scorpios. We don't show when we feel like that. We feel like that's a sign of weakness. So why would we show that? What's going on at the same time that we're faking that we're okay when we're not really okay at all? What's happening here? We've got a mixed bag. I do think that at the same time that we're going through this, there is something that we're celebrating. So we have multiple things going on in our lives at the same time. I think that we are relaxing. We're putting down some of our burdens. We're letting some burdens go that we might have been carrying, or some responsibilities. We're letting some of those go. I think that we are also sort of focusing on ourselves, sort of kind of coming into ourselves with our feelings. We're not letting other people know really how we feel when it comes to this sadness or heartbreak. And I think a part of the reason we're not is because there is some kind of celebration. There's some kind of happiness that is going on. And we don't want to be somebody who brings down that celebration or that happiness. Okay. What else is going on at this time? So it's interesting to me because the 1st through the 8th, we've got this person coming back from the past. And now I see us being alone before the 1st through the 8th is over. And I think that we're actually enjoying being alone, to be honest with you. I think that we are, I think we may have gotten together with this person that came back from the past, and now we're not with them. I think we're not on the same page with them. We're breaking up with them. Or maybe they're breaking up with us. Either way, I think we're really enjoying the alone time that we have. We're finding that we're getting some peace out of that alone time. So, yeah, we're sad. Yeah, we're heartbroken. But there's also good to be said about this being over. This is a relief to us too, because there were some things going on within this dynamic that were, I feel like they were stressing us out. I mean, we wouldn't be so happy to be alone if those things weren't stressing us out. Okay? So I think that we're happy that we're on our own. I think we have mixed feelings. I think we're really sad that this did not work out, but I think we're happy on our own. I think this person came back and already has proved why they were in our past to start with again, very quickly. All right. Let's look at where we are towards the end of this time frame. We're building up our strength. We are building up our strength. So I feel like this is in areas of finances, or in areas of, maybe we're improving our credit. Maybe we are improving our investment portfolio. Maybe we are bringing in more cash flow, but there's definitely something going on where we are improving our situation in a very material way here. And we may be doing this through some way that is new and that we haven't done before. This looks like exploring new things, new ideas, new concepts. And at the same time, there is something that we're letting go of because we know it's appropriate to let go of it. But I think we're having a hard time actually letting it go. So there are mixed emotions about that. Even though we know it's appropriate to let it go, we're having a hard time with us. And remember earlier we saw about, I think it was our subconscious leanings, where we're doing work in the background and we're trying to focus on the logical side of things. I think this is what this is. We're looking at this logically and we're saying, it's appropriate to let this go. This wasn't really working. But at the same time, it's really hard for us to let it go too. So I think our hearts and our minds may not be aligned on whatever this is that we're letting go of here. But at the same time, we are really focusing on some of the other goals we have and some of the other important parts of life besides this relationship, to sort of make that transition a little bit easier. Okay, so that's what I've got for us for the 1st through the 8th, fellow Scorpios. Let me take a break, come back, and we'll look at your next time segment. See you all in a minute. Hello there, fellow Scorpios. Welcome back. We are looking this time at the time frame from September 9th through September 16th. We're going to see what comes up for energy themes during that time. See what's going on in our lives. Seems like the 1st through the 8th, there might have been a little bit of roughness, but there was also some good stuff happening too. So can't forget about the good stuff that's happening too, right? All right, 9th through the 16th, let's put down some cards. La da da da, la da 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 da. All right, we're going to start off with our environment, fellow Scorpios. Okay. So it looks like there's something going on with the environment, that we may be revisiting an environment that we've been in before, or that we are returning the environment that we're in to a way that it used to be. And also there's something going on here where we're really focused on dealing with some kind of sadness or getting rid of some kind of grief in the environment. To me, this is not so much that we're sad or that we're grieving, but there's something going on in our environment that is not good. Okay, this could be even a water leak that is significant, or, you know, something like that. There's something going on in the environment that we're really focused on taking care of. And we're bringing things back into an old way of being. Maybe that's how we take care of whatever this is that needs to be dealt with or handled. All right, let's look next at our subconscious leanings during this time frame from the 9th to the 16th. We are going through a situation where we're struggling, and I think the struggle is about the idea that this is more of a new situation for us. This is something that we haven't been in before, so we're kind of learning by the seat of our pants as we go through this. And the situation has to do with making us stronger in the tangible world. So investments, getting the credit better. I mean, this is something that actually showed up last time too. I think maybe in areas of expansion, I'm not sure. But this is showing up in our subconscious leanings now, that we are really focused on making things better. And we're doing things differently. We're doing things in a new way that we haven't done before. And because we haven't done this before, we may feel like we have to sort of feel our way through it or learn it by the seat of our pants. That's where the struggle's coming in. But I feel like we are doing something successfully to improve basically our tangible strength or our financial strength in the world. That could be about medical health too, with that being about strengthening your position. But I think that this is more about financial for most of us. So that's what we're working on in our subconscious. Next, we're going to look at learning style. There is definitely something we are super interested in finding out about, and we are getting lots of information on that. And then we've also got something that really has to do with emotions and with people and psyche and how people feel and how people look at things. And we're really getting some nuggets of wisdom in that area as well. And then also, as far as learning, I think we're learning some things through our support network or through our tribe. They're passing along good information to us. La, da, 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 da. Let's look at communication style. So for communication style, I do feel like we're communicating in a way that is very solid, is very concrete. I don't think people can misunderstand what we're saying. We're speaking very plainly about those things that we're talking about, and we're building on one concept into the other. So we may start by, we're starting at the beginning, and as we're moving forward, we're explaining the next step or the next step in the process of whatever it is that we're talking about. We may be explaining that we are doing and how we're building up our strength, but this also could be advising people for their particular situation what looks like the best way for them to do that. And I think there could be a mix of both here going on. I do feel like there's lots of communication happening, both in the daytime and in the nighttime. So, I don't think that we are like going out to work and communicating with a lot of people during the daytime and then at night, shutting our doors in our homes and shutting down. I think there's a lot of communication going on at nighttime too. I think there's a lot of transfer of ideas. We're learning a lot through this communication that we're doing as well. So we've got both going with this communication. It's learning and communication that's happening quite plentifully. And then we have some really great things going on as far as communication. We are using communication to expand our lives, to broaden our horizons. And I think we're also, using some communication to talk about some really fun, happiness-making things as well. So a lot of good actually happening in the communication sector. La da da da. Next, we are talking about work. Once again, we're trying to look at work in a very logical way. Very logical way. What else are we doing here? It looks like we're also making ourselves more accessible whenever it comes to work. So maybe we're offering new services or different services. Maybe if we have a business, maybe we're reducing prices on a service or services. Maybe if we're the boss at a company, maybe we're initiating an open door policy so our employees can come in and tell us the real deal about what's going on outside that door. This is really dropping some boundaries, opening up, maybe even becoming vulnerable as far as work goes. If we're becoming vulnerable in that sense, this could be that our hours are getting cut, or I really think when I think of becoming vulnerable, I think about, laying something on the line. Maybe we're doing some whistleblowing and we don't know what happens after that. And then when it comes to work too, I think that we're having a hard time making some decisions about how we feel about the work that we're doing and what we want to do as far as that work goes moving forward. It looks to me like this whole idea of dropping these boundaries between ourselves and other people is causing some confusion as our perception changes around work and what our work is actually supposed to accomplish. Let's look at inner work. Inner work really has to do with this idea of vulnerability and the idea of communicating with somebody about something that we're confused about, something that our head tells us one thing but our heart tells us another, and so we don't really know which way to go. We're trying to follow what our head is saying, but we're finding it to be really difficult. And so I think we may be asking for somebody for advice about how to deal with a situation like this. Or maybe we're just, telling a friend that this is what we're going through. But it feels really vulnerable to admit that to somebody. La da da da, la da 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 da. All right, looking at that part of our personalities which is being grown or expanded during this particular time frame. Like we are really facing our fears about the idea of a separation from somebody or detaching from somebody who's in our sphere of influence. We may just be feeling like the chemistry just isn't there anymore, that dynamic that used to really be the glue that held that relationship together. Whether it's a friendship, whether it's a business relationship, whatever. It just looks to me like the chemistry has sort of fled the scene. And so now we're looking at, well, I never really could imagine doing what I do without this person as a part of it. But maybe that's the next most logical step here, and really facing the fear around that. That's where we're growing or expanding here. And then the next thing that we have coming up talks to me about those things that we stand for. Okay, this is so interesting. It's so interesting because it's very similar. The thing that we stand for is really similar to what I saw in the last time frame for September. All right, so what we see here is that we've experienced a period of genuine happiness. And that happiness came about because we were really honest about how we felt about things. And being honest about how we felt about things really brought some healing to us emotionally, to our heart chakras. And so somebody is questioning this. And we're defending it. We're defending that it's okay to be happy. What is the problem with me being happy? That's what we're defending here. How does the other person view us that we're having to defend our own happiness to? They see us as really learning. I don't know if I want to say learning or teaching. I think they see us as we're teaching something to them about, like we're putting right in front of their face, we're almost holding up a mirror to them by us being happy. Remember before, they were aggravated because we were happy without them in our lives. I think we're dealing with the same person, honestly, because this is just too similar. I can't believe there would be two people in our lives that would be like, well, how could you be happy? Okay? But I think what's going on is, as we say, well, I am happy about these things. There are good things going on in my life, and I'm very happy about them. And the reason I'm happy is because I actually stood up and said something. I made some changes in a situation so that I could be happy, so that I could heal, so that I could move forward from some kind of emotional insecurity or emotional trauma. And this person, by us doing this, what they're doing is they're looking at the mirror. When they hear us talk, they're looking at the mirror and they're seeing themselves. And they're seeing that they have very low self-esteem and self-confidence. They're learning this as they listen to us defend ourselves for our own happiness. They're learning that their self-esteem or their self-confidence is really low anytime that they are not either in a relationship or are not employed, one of the two. And I'm going to say that for most of them, this is about being in a relationship. I think the unemployed is probably also true, but I think what's really hitting home for them is that when they are not in a relationship, they don't feel self-confident. They only feel confident when they've got somebody around who also thinks they're wonderful. Wonderful enough to be committed to them. And so they're seeing us defend our own happiness, independent of any kind of relationship, not saying whether we're in one or whether we're not, but they're seeing us that we can be happy regardless of whether we are or not, regardless of what other people think, that we can find healing all on our own. And they're looking at themselves as they're hearing this. What they think isn't so much about us this time. Normally in the spread, this shows what they think about us. This time, what we're getting a glimpse of is what this information that we're sharing with them makes them think of themselves. And they're comparing themselves to us, and they're realizing that they're weak on self-esteem and self-confidence whenever they're not in a relationship with somebody. And they're learning this by watching how we are, how we have self-esteem and self-confidence, whether somebody broke our heart or not. Interesting stuff there. Interesting stuff. Maybe our person is growing up a little bit there. That would be nice. I don't know. Maybe that's wishful thinking, but it would be nice. All right, let's look next at the flex point. This is where things start to change during this particular period of our lives. So we do have someone showing up with this energy of really thinking outside the box. I think this is us, actually. I think we're really thinking outside the box about finding some solutions. We're not letting what society would normally do dictate how we solve some of the problems that are showing up in our life. And we are getting really focused on those solutions, and we're doing the work that it takes behind the scenes to have those solutions happen. Okay? So anybody who is successful that I've ever heard speak, successful at anything, if you really dig into their story, what you find out is that success didn't come easy to them so much as they were really passionate about what they were doing, and they put in a lot of hard work, but they loved the hard work. That's what kept them going at it, was because they actually loved what they were doing. They also wanted that target or that goal that they were reaching for. And so they put in a lot of work that most of us would never dream of or would never imagine. There was a lot of behind the scenes type of work. And I think what's going on here is we're putting in a lot of behind the scenes type of work, the type of work that most people would never dream that we're actually doing when they see the results of our work. But we're being very focused on whatever our target or goal is, and so we're doing that legwork, we're doing that behind the scenes type of work, we're doing that non-glamorous, never talked about type of work, and we're thinking outside the box to come up with a solution for ourselves. And then we're just, once we come up with that solution, we're very focused on making it happen and doing whatever it takes to make it happen. Right? So now I want to look at what else is going on during this time frame. It looks like we've got a few people that we're interacting with as we are doing this behind the scenes work and coming up with a solution and focusing on it. One of the people that we're interacting with is somebody who has some very narcissistic tendencies. And so this is going to be somebody who, you know, they just want us to do whatever they want us to do for them. And they don't really understand or see the idea that we have a goal that we're working towards for ourselves. Because, you know, that just interferes with us taking care of them and doing what they need. So that's not necessary. Why on earth would we focus on anything but them? You know, that's kind of the narcissistic type of thinking. That just puzzles the heck out of them. They don't understand. Okay. So we've got somebody like that we're dealing with. I also think that we have a younger person that we're dealing with who can be very sarcastic and cutting. And I think that this person is very skeptical about what we can accomplish. They don't understand that Scorpios are generally hidden powerhouses. So they're very skeptical about what they think that we can accomplish. I don't know that we've necessarily even shared with them what our goal or what our target is. I think they just don't have a very high opinion about what we can do. I don't think that they're hearing the goal or target and laughing at us or anything like that. I just think they think that we're not that capable. Okay? And then the third person that shows up that we're dealing with at this time, I feel like this is going to be somebody who is a mentor. Remember I said that we're going to be moving into doing some things that we haven't ever done before, that we're kind of learning by the seat of our pants? I think that as we're doing this, this is a part of us finding that solution and being really focused on reaching a target or a goal. And I think that as we're doing this in sort of unknown territory for us because it's something new and out of our normal realm of experience in the past, I think that we're basically stumbling along a mentor, somebody who is willing and able to help us to move forward in this area, willing to advise us and help us have some insight about what we're looking at and what might potentially be a problem that we might have to take care of, and what are green flags that are showing up in front of us. So this is nice. I like that, you know, we're dealing with a couple of more challenging energies, but we've also got a really helpful energy showing up there too. All right, what else is happening? What else is happening during this time is that we are going through a major transformation. And this transformation it starts in our perspective and how we think about something. And as how we think about something changes, that changes how we interact with the world. And as how we interact with the world begins to change, well, that changes how the world interacts with us as well. So we are having some major changes that are going on. We're doing some major transformation. And this major transformation is actually helping us to manifest the goals that we're working for. Okay? So we're making some big changes here in what we're doing. We've got somebody who's helping us. We've got a couple of challenging energies, but we're really focused. We're doing that elbow grease type of work, the behind the scenes type of work. We're manifesting the things that we want because of that. And at the same time, there's still something that we're having a hard time letting go of. I feel like this is an old mindset. This may even be that even while we're doing all of this, we're still thinking about that person that kind of came in and left, that one that doesn't understand how we can be happy when they're not around or when we're not in a relationship. And I think we're having a hard time with really just releasing thoughts and releasing energy around this. There's still something sort of clinging to us where we were hoping and wishing for something really good to come out of that relationship that just hasn't. And yet we're still not able to fully release that yet. We're still hoping against hope that maybe something good can come out of this. Okay? Now, where do we find ourselves at the end of this time frame? Wow. We are bringing something back to life. We are putting energy and effort into something that was put on the back burner, that we were ignoring and not paying attention to before. And we are very dedicated to this thing whenever we bring it back to life. We're really dedicated to making it work. And even as we're dedicated to making that work, we've also got some energy coming in that things are very different. Things are very different. Almost instantaneously from the point of restarting this, there is a major shakeup in this. It's like as we're restarting this, we're realizing that how we were doing it before wasn't really working out. If we try to do it how we did it before, it's not going to work out again. And what we may be finding is that the other person wants to do everything just the way it was before. And so at this almost instantaneously as we start this thing, we stop this thing too. We just call a screeching halt to it, because what's the point of putting energy and effort into it if nothing changes? We know where that train track ends. There's no need to go down that track. And so I think we start something, we're really dedicated to it, and then we realize, whoa, what I'm working on is not the same as what this other person is working on. No, I refuse. And I think that gets called to an end really quickly, and probably also really dramatically. I don't think it's as simple as we just look at this and we realize and we go, can't do it. I think this is going to be a pretty dramatic ending, just as fast as this thing got started. All right, well, that's that time frame. Let me take a break, come back, and we'll look at the third section of time for September. See you soon. Thanks for being here. Hello there. Welcome back, Scorpios. We are now looking at our time frame from September 17th through the 23rd. Just looking at major themes once again, getting some insight into what's going to be going on in our world at that time. La da 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 da. This is a general reading, so this information will be pretty general. If you want something more specific, private readings are available. For being a general reading, we get pretty specific here. But private readings are really the ultimate if you want to know for your own self. Okay, let's take a peek. Let's take a peek. We're starting off with our environment. Usually that's home. Could be somewhere else. It's any place we have energy or effort invested. Oh, baby. We're definitely starting something new whenever it comes to our environment. Excuse me. This could be that we're going to be in a new environment, a new workplace, a new home. This could be that we're just doing something new to that environment or in that environment. But definitely we're starting something new, but there's a challenge here. And the challenge is that we're dealing with somebody who is codependent. So they're trying to control that new thing a little bit more than what they would really technically have authority to do. And so that's going to be our challenge, is to try to get this person to back off a little bit and let us have the control that we're supposed to have of our own environment. Next thing I'm looking at does talk to me about subconscious leanings. Subconscious leanings. So it looks like there's something going on where we have unified what we think along with what we feel. Our head and our heart are working together. So we've been able to make some kind of decision here. And that decision is about actually letting something go, about not starting it back up again. And so in our subconscious, we're really looking at the best thing that we can do in a situation is let it go, not be sucked into a cycle, not restart this thing again. And our subconscious is really working on, okay, well, how are we going to do this? We know this is what we want to do. How are we going to make that actually happen? How are we not going to be sucked in again? What's our plan of action? That's what our subconscious is working on. Now, happy to see that, by the way. Next thing that I'm looking at talks to me about learning style and also communication style. When I'm looking at learning style, we are getting some information through meditation or communication with spirit in whatever way that is, through our spiritual practice. That's one thing that shows up. We're also doing some very tangible learning. We may be taking some kind of class or seminar, finding out some kind of very solid information that we can build on later. And then we are learning some things just because we're curious and we're asking questions and we're digging in. So we've got a lot of learning happening in a bunch of different areas, actually. As far as our communication style, it may be very fiery and enthusiastic, but at the same time, not changing. So sometimes when we have communication that's fiery and enthusiastic, it may be easily swayed with the wind. We don't have that. We have something that is really solid that we're communicating about, and we're feeling really enthusiastic about it. We're not changing what we're saying about this. We are keeping that messaging consistent as we put it out there. I think that we are contacting people to present opportunities to them for some type of collaboration, whether we're making ourselves available to teach a class, whether lots of different ways that this could be happening. You could be sending out resumes to people, but definitely you're letting people know that you're out there, you're letting people know that you have some kind of opportunity for them, and you're just waiting to see, okay, well, what's the response going to be? I don't think that you're just communicating with one person about this opportunity or idea that you're out here and available. I think this is multiple. I don't think this is about relationship either. I think this is about business. business, or financial. And I feel like, actually, I'm going to tell you, I feel like any kind of romantic relationship at this point, I think you're kind of keeping your distance, Scorpio. So if you're in a relationship, it's just not so much what you're focused on right now. There's not a lot of communication going on other than just the bare bones minimum stuff that has to happen. And if you are not in a relationship, this is really consciously just focusing on other things other than nurturing a relationship, and not really putting that much effort or energy into communicating to get a relationship fired up, or to be speaking with an interest or anything like that, or a love interest, or whatever. It does look like if we're in a relationship, it's solid. It can withstand this type of focus elsewhere. But if we're not in a relationship, I just think that we're just not focused on that right now. We really could kind of care less that we're not in a relationship at the moment, because we're working on other things that we're excited about. We may not feel like we have time to focus on a relationship, really. All right, so let's look at work during this time frame. There is something where we've faced some kind of fear when it comes to work, something that we were afraid of. We've looked at that, and that is no longer something that's fearful to us. Maybe we just jumped in and did it. We did see in the last time frame we were doing some things that were completely new to us. Maybe jumping in and doing those things that were completely new eliminated that fear, or knocked that fear out. We do have some collaboration going at work, so we're working along with other people. But there is some kind of limitation where we're not actually able to do everything that we would normally like to do. That limitation may have something to do with all the restrictions around COVID. That limitation may be something else. I mean, I'm recording this in August, so August the 13th actually. Maybe we're looking at some other kind of limitations, but there's something going on that I think is temporary, that doesn't really allow us to do everything that we would like to do right now whenever it comes to work or business. And I feel like I said, it's temporary, and it's also something that's caused by something that we're not in control of. It's outside, it's beyond our control. But in spite of the limitations, we're still managing to pull off some type of collaborative project with somebody, and we are, or at least to move forward with it. And, you know, we're not afraid. We're not afraid of whatever we're doing whenever it comes to work. Now, let's look at inner work. Inner work has to do with a change of perspective. And so there is this change of perspective, and it's probably coming around because of the restrictions that we have, because we're not doing everything we would normally like to do for work. And so that's giving us time to think about things we normally wouldn't have time to think about. And that's where that change of perspective is coming in. I like it. It looks like we're making lots of changes in perspective. We've overcome a fear about work already. Now we're changing another perspective. To me, this is really all about growth. And we're doing a nice steady pace of growth during this month so far, Scorpios. I'm liking it. And you guys, y'all know how we are. We do growth all the time. We transform all the time. To us, it's just like breathing. Other people, it seems like it's a little harder for them, but this is kind of who we are. We're always growing and expanding. We live in that transmutation energy all the time. All right, let's look next at that part of our personalities which is being grown or expanded right now. We are paying way stronger attention to our intuition. Our intuition is really growing, even more so than we used to. And I think that we're feeling like there may even be some kind of celebration around our intuition. There may be somebody that is recognizing us for our intuition, or telling us how beneficial our intuition has been to them. along the way, those gut instincts that maybe you've shared with people. There's definitely something we're celebrating, and it's tied to intuition in some way. It may be that you've accomplished something through intuition that allows you to celebrate now. And also, we're coming to a point where basically we're leveling up. We're leveling up. I'm hearing, what was that? It was a DreamWorks movie. I think it was their first movie, actually. It was about Moses, and now I don't remember the name of it. But at one point when he's interviewing with Pharaoh, and there are a lot of people around, and Pharaoh asked the priest to show Moses their power, there's this song that plays, and that's kind of what I'm hearing right now as I'm looking at these cards for us Scorpios, is you're playing with the big boys now. So definitely there's some kind of leveling up here when it comes to intuition. Maybe there are some of you out there that have never read for anybody, and have never shared some of your intuitive hits with anybody. Maybe you're starting to do that. Maybe there are others of you that you've read for friends and family for years now, but you've never really thought about taking it professional. Maybe you're thinking about going professional with it. Maybe you're not really thinking about charging for readings, but maybe you're thinking about sharing some of your insights on social media with people. Some of your insights about enlightenment or consciousness, or predictions for what may be coming in the future. But there's this whole idea of taking your intuition and having something to celebrate about it and upgrading it. And you're coming to the point of stepping into a whole new arena with your intuition, wherever you are now, taking that into the next level. And this is something that you're deciding about. You're deciding if you want to, or we're deciding if we want to. And the reason we're deciding if we want to is because this is something that doesn't come without a cost. Taking intuition to the next level, taking anything to the next level, comes with a cost. And Spirit is asking us here to consider the cost, consider the changes that will have to come if we make this leap to the next level, if we take this step up, that next step. Consider those changes. Consider what that's going to do to our social life. Consider what that's going to do to our career. Consider what that's going to do for our own spiritual life. What is that going to do? How is that going to impact our family? How is that going to impact our standing in our family? So there's a lot to be considered here. And I think where we're growing and expanding here is we're recognizing that intuition is really becoming more pronounced and a bigger part of our life right now. And we're looking at, do we want to take it to the next step? Do we want to pay the cost of taking this to the next level? That's where we're growing or expanding. Spirit is asking us to really evaluate, do we want to? Because once we do, there won't be any turning back. Okay? Now, next thing that I'm looking at has to do with those things that we stand for. Maybe this will be different than the last two time frames, right? I think we have sort of a theme going. I can see how the energy is shifting. Yeah, I can see how the energy is flowing here. So what are we standing for? We have taken the time to spend getting to know somebody better, and it has impacted our efforts to strengthen ourselves in the world financially. And we're not really happy about that. We're not really happy about that. So this person who was like, well, how can you be happy whenever we're not together? Or how can you be happy when you're not focused on me? Apparently they've worn us down a little bit by this point. They've already been in and out, what, twice? And so now we've kind of caved and we're spending some time with them, but it's impacting our bottom line. And so what's their opinion of us? This is something that we're standing for, okay? So now we've got this person who before was like, well, you're not spending time with me. How come you can't be happy? How come you can be happy when you're not spending time with me, I mean? And now they're saying, well, look, how come you're not doing those things that you were doing before to increase your business or to make yourself better at what you do or to increase your bottom line? How come that's not happening anymore? And you're saying, because I'm spending time with you now. Isn't that what you want? That's what we're standing for here. So how is this person seeing us now? They're seeing this as an unhealthy situation. And it is. It is an unhealthy situation. They're also feeling betrayed. They're feeling betrayed by us. Because they feel like we should be able to work and socialize with them all at the same time. And they feel like us telling them that, well, I've been spending time with you, that's kind of impacted my work life. They feel like that. First of all, they're feeling betrayed by that. They feel like that's just ridiculous and that's a really horse's butt thing for us to say to them. Well, it's the truth. And they feel like we're putting ourselves into a vulnerable position financially. They don't want to have any kind of responsibility about the idea that they're drawing us away from work more than what we really wanted to be to start with. They don't want to take responsibility for that. They want to pin it all on us that, okay, well, they've put themselves in a vulnerable position. Nothing to do with them. Nothing to do with them having fits and crying and moaning and whining because we were happy doing our thing without them being right there breathing down our neck. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Lovely. Lovely. All right, the next thing that we're going to look at is the flex point during this time frame. That's where things start to change direction. I think things are changing direction with this person all the time. I feel like they're just kind of showing up, and then they're disappearing, and then they're showing up, and then they're disappearing. They've always got an opinion, though, don't they? They've always got an opinion. Okay, what's going on with our flex time? Yep, another fight with that person. We're not on the same page with them. Are we surprised? Are we surprised? So we're not getting along with them, but we are deciding to try to work it out, to try to stay together, to try to communicate, to try to work things out. And I feel like this person is up for it too. I think we're both hanging tough here, us and the other person. We're both hanging tough here. We're both trying to really just work things out, trying to make it work. I think what's going on is we both really care about each other. We both really want the other person in our lives, even though this is not the healthiest thing that's being played out here. We're trying to figure out how to make this a healthier situation. At the same time that that's happening, it's really not working. It's really not working. And I think that we are at a point now where, yeah, we're hanging tough, but we're not sure how much longer we're going to be able to hang tough. We're really not sure that it's a good idea to keep hanging tough. So we're doing this for now. And at the same time that this is going on, we're feeling really unbalanced. We are really, really, really enjoying this person. We're enjoying their company immensely. In spite of the fact that they're taking away from our work time, in spite of the fact that, you know, they've always got an opinion on something that we may not agree with, we're really enjoying their company in spite of all of this. And we find ourselves just continuing to being drawn back, drawn back, drawn back. Now, isn't this interesting? You know, this is putting us off balance. But I think this is really interesting because wasn't it just in this time frame, our subconscious leanings were like, we know we need to let something go. We're trying to figure out how to not keep getting drawn back into it. How to really let it go. Our mind and our heart are aligned as we're looking at our subconscious energies. They were. Now we're seeing that we're not pulling it off, man. We're not doing it. Okay? Oh, maybe we are. Let's look at the end of this particular time frame. This shows that we are actually taking some time to step back and to figure out what our priorities are when we get into the end of this time frame. And to start focusing on what are those priorities, what makes us tick, what makes us happy, what makes us sad, what triggers us, undoing some of those triggers. And I think we're stepping back because we're finding ourselves in a really insecure place. Being with this person, being around this person, whether they're a lover or whether they're a friend or whatever, makes us feel really insecure all the time. And I think that as we're taking that time to figure out our priorities and to set things straight, I think that we're really focusing on trying to communicate with the divine, trying to really figure out what's going to help the situation. Is a walk away going to be the only solution here? Is there something else that could help this situation? And meanwhile, I think the other person is pretty insecure too as we're backing away. And I think this other person is really watching us from a distance, through friends, through social media. They're keeping an eye on us because they know that we're considering what on earth are we supposed to do here. And they don't want us to disappear. At the same time, I don't think that they necessarily have any solutions for this situation either and how to make it more healthy. But they know that they don't want us to disappear, so they are keeping an eye. Are they letting us know? No, they're insecure. They're not letting us know that that's how they feel, because to them that's showing weakness. Okay? But do we see that? Yes, we see that insecurity in them. We see that they're really tense as we're pulling back. Okay? So that's the end of this time frame. I'm going to take another break and then we'll come back and we'll wrap up the month. Thanks for being here. Hey, fellow Scorpios, we are back to look at the last portion of the month of September. This is going to be for September 24th through the 30th. Just looking at the main energies, see what's going on in our world at that point. La da da da. Okay. Let's take a peek, Scorpios. So the first thing that we have coming up does talk to me about our environment. Our environment is any place where we have energy or effort invested. It looks to me like there is a lot of confusion about the environment during this time frame. We may be having a hard time manifesting any kind of solutions to whatever this is that we're confused about. And it looks like whatever's going on, there's something that is happening that is stubbornly remaining the same no matter what type of solutions we try to come up with for the environment. That should be interesting. Let's see what's going on with our subconscious leanings, see what we can get as far as clues about that. Subconscious leanings looks to me like we're feeling really restless to be able to manifest those things that we want to manifest. We're in our subconscious, we're restless, we're working on those challenges, those obstacles, those resistances towards manifesting the things that we want to manifest. So, that's pretty cut and dry. Learning style and communication style. There's a lot of emotions coming up in our learning style. So whatever it is that we're learning about, we have a lot of feeling about whatever this is. And I think that also we are turning to intuition. We are turning to communication with the divine to find some of these things that we want to know about. Communication style. I think that there is some communication that's happening during this time frame that once again is emotional. I think we're really unhappy about something that is going on and we're communicating that unhappiness to somebody around. We are communicating actually quite a lot in trying to find some kind of solution. I think that we're hoping that in communicating we can come up with, you know, by communicating and collaborating with others, that we can come up with some kind of solution here. And once again, I have communication with the divine. So learning things through intuition and through the divine, communicating with the divine, and also, you know, actually communicating, praying, you know, talking to the divine. There's some kind of resistance that we're dealing with here that I think we're really having to learn, okay, how do we deal with this? This may be something that's new to us. Looking at work. It looks to me like we may be pretty distracted about work right now. Whatever it is that's going on, we've got a lot of confusion, a lot of indecision happening. We are bringing something out of mothballs, an old project or an old business, something like that. We're bringing something out of mothballs. Maybe this was something that we were working on the side. We're bringing that back to life again. But I think a lot of our problem here is there's a lot of confusion around work, and there's a lot of, because of this confusion around work, we may not be feeling very motivated to move forward with anything. The only thing we have coming up is whatever this is that's old that we're reviving. I'm really not liking this time frame so much for us Scorpios. As far as inner work, inner work is for us to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. Something has definitely got us feeling like we've been thrown off the horse. And so inner work is all about, okay, well, how do we get back up and how do we get back going again? Let's do this. And I feel like this isn't just in work. I feel like this is in personal life as well. Wonder what's happening for us astrologically during that time frame. There's definitely something. Something's going on, because this is pretty intense. This is the most intense week we've had all month. All right, so where are we growing and expanding? We are absolutely dedicated to healing ourselves. This can be something very physical, but it also can be more emotional. And I think that we may be teaching other people healing in some way or another. I know, like, I'm a Reiki master, so for me this could be that I have Reiki classes going on. But for some of the rest of you who don't have like a certified skill to teach, you could be mentoring or advising somebody who needs some healing, and that could be emotional or it could be physical, either way. And I think that also you're calling on the divine. Some of you other Scorpios out there are very much being caretakers for somebody who is not feeling well, and filling that caretaker role, you know, making them soup, bringing them cold washcloths for their foreheads, that type of stuff could be a very tangible way of doing it. All right, so helping somebody with healing is definitely playing a big part. That's where we're growing or expanding during this particular time frame. La da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da 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 da. What are we standing for? I think there's a situation where we have been asked to make a commitment or sign some kind of long-term contract with somebody who wants to be more in control of our lives and our decisions. And I think that we are saying, you know what, I'm perfectly cool with us being friends, but I'm not perfectly cool with you having any kind of authority over me. And I think somebody is sort of criticizing that, and we're standing up for ourselves on that one. How is this other person viewing us? They are feeling like they need to put some boundaries between ourselves and them. They're feeling like, where before I think they thought that we should be able to work together and have a personal life together. Now they're realizing that that has to be separate. And I think they're feeling like we're not following our own intuition. They feel like we're making some bad decisions here because we're not paying attention to our intuition. Interesting. Interesting. All right. Let's look next at that flex point during this time frame. Okay, Scorpios. First of all, I do think that we are hearing from somebody who has already crossed over, somebody who was a male during their time on Earth, and somebody who had some kind of position of authority with us. So this could be somebody who is a spouse, a significant other, a father, a grandfather, an uncle, a teacher, a mentor, a professor, but a male version of somebody who had some kind of authority over us. And I think we're going to be hearing from that person. And I think that because we're hearing from that person, we're going to be laying down some responsibilities. We may even be walking away from a relationship. And I think that we're doing this because we feel the need to insulate ourselves or protect ourselves. We feel like we've made ourselves too vulnerable, and because of becoming too vulnerable, we've allowed ourselves to be hurt before, and now we are not. We are making sure that we're not allowing that opportunity for somebody to hurt us to come back again. And that is all kicked off by hearing from somebody who's crossed over, who used to have authority in our life, who is male. Now, what else is happening? Yeah, I think that we are separating ourselves from somebody. We feel like, well, we gave this situation or this relationship a chance, and it's overwhelming to us right now. And so we're backing off of this. And as we back off of this, we're going back to focusing on increasing our standing financially or materially in this world. So we're shifting focus. We're backing away from this relationship or situation, and we're shifting our focus back to creating income or creating a good retirement situation for ourselves, or whatever it is that we're creating financially or materially. Also, at the same time that this is happening, we're stepping back from a relationship with this person, but there's still a lot of chemistry here. And so even though we may not be committed to this person, I think that we are still enjoying their company quite a bit. Quite a bit. And in very adult ways, if you know what I mean. Okay? I think we're trying to look at this situation logically, even as we indulge in those pleasures. I think we're trying to look at the situation logically, and we are trying to make our best decisions going forward here. But really, even though we're saying, you know, okay, I'm not participating in the situation or relationship, it's not over. It's not over. And so even as it's not over, we're still trying to be logical. It's like we are just fighting like the Dickens to try to get away from this situation because we don't feel like it's healthy. We want it to be over on the one hand, but on the other hand, we're really drawn to it. There's a lot of chemistry here, and we're really drawn to that. So where do we see things once we get to the end of the month? Where do we see ourselves here? Things are actually going pretty good for us. We're starting to find a balance here. And we are finding a little bit of a balance here. We're creating our own prosperity, and we're creating some good memories with this other person. I think this other person is still in adjustment mode, like they're still kind of getting used to the idea that us Scorpios need to focus on financial matters or material matters as well as them. So this is an adjustment period. They may be a little bit grumpy about this, but we still have them showing up in our sphere of influence. They haven't walked out. Although I think that this is kind of hard on them. This is really hard for them to comprehend and to be sure that we're still with them, we're still loyal to them, even if we're working on our own financial stuff too. I think they're having a hard time. They're really struggling with this. I think this is making them pretty grumpy, and it may be even making them really insecure. So, but I don't feel like they've left because of it. Maybe things are a lot more lighter than what they were in the beginning of the month or the second week or third week of the month. But I think that this person is still around, still trying to figure out how to make things work out. Okay, so that's what I see for this month. I hope that that makes sense to all of you, or at least that it does as the month rolls on through. I appreciate all of you being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the thumbs ups and the shares. Thank you also to those of you who are booking private readings and private Reiki sessions with me. If I don't see you here for a private session, then I'll see you guys back on the next video. Everybody have a great month. Peace out.